Hi, welcome back to the Channel 81 vlog. So this weekend's been a actually quite refreshing, slow weekend for once, considering the last 4 or 5 weekends have been absolutely flat out. So Clea's gone off to Wonthaggi today to watch the ProMX. Unfortunately, I'm on call for work, so I can't actually go riding or go to the racing myself to watch. So Clea might get a few videos of that and see what's going on. Unlike last year, the weather's actually way better today. It's not stinking hot. My plans for today is to actually clean up my shed, as it's just, I come in from riding on the weekends and just chuck stuff as close as I can to the door and then leave. So if you were mainly just wanting to watch riding videos, we've got a couple other videos on the channel to go and watch. We'll be back to riding next weekend and back to normal, a bit of normality. Today's, like I said, just going to be a bit slower. I'm up, do a bit of bike work, so I got to strip my 450 down and get that cleaned because last weekend was an absolute mud race. Even though I spent about 2 hours on this machine, I still have mud in places that can't really get out without stripping plastics and perhaps getting it back down to a frame level. Everything's going to come back out and then I can grease linkages and do a bit of maintenance because the poor 450 needs it. Picks for ProMX today, 450 class. Webster beaten, Kurt Gibbs. Webster beaten Kurt Gibbs. That's what I'm going for the overall today. I hate you. My one day off in quite a while has been a very eventful day for me so far. It may not look like it, but I've actually pretty well organized that side of the shed, fixed that up. I've cleaned the back part of my bench and then just made my shed that little bit more user-friendly. Now I'm on to working on the bike, and I've stripped the plastics off it, and then I was going to pull the shock out and do the bearings, but looking at how much mud is still under everything from last week, I'll probably put the rear wheel back on and then give it a quick hose down, so then all the mud and gunk's out of it from under the plastics. And then that way I can pull the forks out, do the headstem bearings, do the linkage bearings, and I'll pull the swing arm off and do them as well. So this week I'm planning on riding Park 4 with a couple mates in Clea. I better get this sorted and give her a service. Yeah, be ready for the weekend. Side note, how good does the 500 look? It's been sat in the shed for quite a while, just a bit neglected. I'm actually planning on racing this in May, so I better get my ass into gear. The carby needs to be worked on. One of the seals need to be worked on, and I need to get the forks freshened up. There is a 2-stroke race up in Bega that I'm planning on racing. It's called the AM Cross, so they do obviously all the different classes, but there's a 2-stroke class, and I want to race the 500 in that. Righto, all ready to wash up. Got the air boot cover in. Get the sand off. What do you reckon, buddy? Sprocket's keen. No, he's not blind. He has 2 different colour eyes. Look at ya. Good boy. Giving it a bit of a tub down, and my frame is quite stained in the hard to get places, so might have a bit of scrubbing and degreasing to do. All right, so this is as far as I've got so far. The my chain doesn't want to come off because it's been jammed by the mud. So I got the link off, but I can't get the actual chain apart for whatever reason. So thank God we raced in the mud with a brand new friggin' chain. Clean the airbox out a little bit, done a little bit else. I've got the linkage apart, ready for grease, but I left my spanners in my van, which is at work, so I've got the work truck. So I've got no sockets or anything here, which is not helpful. So tomorrow I'll get my sockets so I can take my shock off, and then the swing arm can come off, and then the headstand forks, that's tomorrow's job. And then, yeah, just branch grease, put it all back together and ready for the weekend. So I've done a little bit more bike work today. So I brought the toolbox from my van, I got the swing arm off, and I have greased the bearings in here, and I'm about to grease the linkage bearings. I wanted to replace this, which is still in pretty good nick, but seeing as it's on its way out, I thought I'd replace it while it's here, because I got a new chain block to go on it as well. But I've left it in my van as well, so that doesn't help me one little bit. Yeah, I'm planning on doing that tonight. Linkage, put the back end of the bike, and I'll strip the front end down and just see how I feel. Actually, scratch that. That is daylight. Oh, daylight coming through this. No good.
Smoke up, then I wake up, get into it. I know that I'm a bad man, nothing to it. I do that, kinda knew that, don't tell me. I know that we'll be fine someday, my love.
Right, so you probably just watch a time lapse of me fail to get the bike off, nearly lose the bike. So the headstand bearings, that one's needs a lot of attention. That one looks worse than it is. So the headstems aren't terrible, but they're a little notchy. I'll just probably emery tape in there and whatever. But the part that's the worst, what I found, is that my fork seal just started to weep, if it can focus. What a pain in the ass. So I'm going to run this little fork seal saver around it and just hope like hell that it actually fixes it. So I just got the dust cover down, and yuck. I really hope that these aren't cooked. So I personally think both my forks have sucked in too much water, but yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully they don't leak overnight, and then I can at least ride with them on the weekend. So I'm going to have to try to get to cruise tune at some stage to give my gas forks so they can get them rebuilt, and then the shock done on the gas, and then I can race that as well. Oh, bloody bikes. This is what my shed looks like currently. Spare parts bike, 500. What the freaking hell? Supercross bike, 250, which forks need done. 125, it needs a rebuild. 250 needs a new clutch. 50, not rideable. And then, what the hell? Bikes, don't we love them? I forgot to time lapse putting my bike back together. But swing arm, all linkaging, everything in the back's done. Forks are on and they're still weeping, so I'm gonna have to get cruise tuned to look at that after the weekend. Hopefully they hold out. I put a new chain slider on and chain block. And I was hoping to put the new foot pegs that Lockie Pope gave me. So Lockie hooked me up with these titanium ones. These are second hand, so I will sharpen them up, but still, look at them. They are beasts. If I had these on my Supercross bike at Redcliffe, my backside would have been torn a new one. The only thing I've got to do now, air filter, I'm going to start it up, run it for a little bit, change the oil, and that's about it. I've also got to torque the forks up, but I'm going to try to run it now before it gets too dark so then my neighbours don't complain. So I've warmed it up a little bit. I can't really warm it up how I'd like to, but the coolant is starting to drop down the sides. So there's a little bit of warmth in it. I'll drop this oil now and see how I go, get it all done. Oh no, so it's finally the day that I thought I was going to be over and done with. So I worked quite late in the shed last night to get the bike finished, and I've come across quite the issue, which has sort of ruined my whole plan for the weekend. So the big girl's 95% back together. The fork sealers are still toasted, so they got to go to cruise tune. No real biggie because I have found that I have a cracked motor mount on my frame. Oh no good. I'm gonna have to take the whole engine out, pretty much take it down to a frame, and then, yeah, yuck. I'm gonna take the suspension out anyway to take the cruise tune, so that's gonna be fun. I'm gonna have to literally put the bike down to a frame level again. So everything that I just took off this week has to come back off now. Well, anyway, I think that's going to be me done for this vlog. Hope you enjoyed watching me struggle to work on the bike, because we kind of got there in the end and we kind of didn't. So now the suspension and engine and everything has to come out properly, and I have a lot more work to do. But look what's going to come riding this weekend now, the old trusty. So its fork seals are still also toasted, so I'm going to see if I can steal Adam's forks out of his 252 stroke. He probably doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to ask, just to get me riding this weekend, because, well, 450's toasted. Yeah, so it's fun and joys. Dirt bikes, so I'll do it to you. The next vlog should be good. Clea and I have a big weekend of riding ahead. Unfortunately, the 450 will not be featuring in this, so yeah. Thanks for watching. See you next video.